Hello everyone, this is Sakurai. Welcome back. Last time I talked to you in this kind of method, I made my opinion on the 2024 handbook kind of known, gave my opinions on that. So I want to try something different today. I want to make this a semi-regular series. I'm not going to do it every single week, but when the mood strikes me, I think we're going to go ahead and do it, and we'll do one this week. And basically what I want to do with you today is kind of just make a character from scratch using the 2024 Player's Handbook. We are going to be going rules as written, so even though I have a great distaste for what they did with the stats and the origin feats with backgrounds, I'm going to go ahead and just go by the rules for now. As always, talk to your DM if you want to, say, take a different origin feat or reallocate stats. Most DMs are going to be chill with that. I think a lot of DMs out there are going to want you to make the character that you want to make and not the character that Wizards of the Coast expects you to make. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. I do want to make an orc because, as I established, I love my orcs. But one thing I did do is we are going to choose a class at random. I did roll a d12 earlier, and it came up with 6, and the monk is the 6th one on the list of classes alphabetically, so we will be doing that today. And we're just going to go step by step in the book. So our first step is going to be choosing a class, and as established, we are going to be making a monk. So just write that in here. This is the 2024 character sheet. They are different from the 24, or the, I think it's 2014, basically the 5e handbook, the original 5e handbook. I do have some thoughts on that because they did change some things for the better, and I think there's some things that are maybe not quite for the better, but, you know, fairly mundane. So we'll go through that. So, we chose a class, and write it on the character sheet. Class overview table summarize the classes. See Chapter 3 for the class's details. Alright. So let's see. Next, write your level. We're going to go ahead and make the level for this character 3. Because I think a lot of campaigns start at level 3. That's where a lot of characters, especially now that all characters get their subclass at level 3, that's when they start to really feel special. So we're going to start this at level 3. Level 1 is basically the same thing, as you're not going to go that deep into it. Okay, so next we have to note our armor training. So we're going to go to the monk, and I know for the fact that the monk does not have armor training, but just to make sure everything is copacetic, we'll go through and make sure the monk gets all of their things. Probably should bookmark this, poor foresight on my part. Paladin, and here we go, here's all the monkeys. Okay. So, core monk traits. Primary abilities are dexterity and wisdom. Hit point die is 1d8 per monk level. So we go to our hit dice here in the corner. This is what you're going to spend on a short rest in order to recover hit points. You get, basically every class gets an amount per, they get a certain dice size and they get that per level. So we're level 3, so our max dice is 3. And the hit dice for a monk is a d8. So basically, whenever there's a short rest, if I want to regain some hit points, I will just say, DM, I would like to roll either 1d8, 2d8, 3d8 to regain hit points. I would note that I have, well, actually, you wouldn't have to note there. And actually, hold on a second. I'm going to change that to 3d8, because that's our max there. So basically, whenever that happens, we'll just go here, change a 3 to a 2 if we spend 1 dice, or a 3 to a 0 if we spend 3, etc., and that will show us how much we have left. So we got the hit point die. Saving throw proficiencies are strength and dexterity. So we're just going to go here, so we're proficient in that one, and we're proficient in dexterity. And we'll kind of head back to those a little later. Skill proficiencies. Choose 2, acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, or stealth. So, let's see here. I think, I'd imagine, okay, so let's get into the head of our orc monk a little bit. I don't see them as, doing stealth that much. I feel like even being an orc, they're more on the physical way of what a monk does. So I'm going to give them acrobatics. So we're going to check that off. And then, yeah, let's give them athletics too. We're going to make this, we're going to make this a very physical monk more so than a spiritual one. He's kind of finding his way, down his spiritual path. Weapon proficiencies, simple weapons and martial weapons with light property. So we're just going to go down here, and we're just going to put that there and say simple, and actually we'll do simple weapons and martial with light property. Oh, that. There we go. And you want to word it that way because if you say simple weapons and martial with light property, that implies that the simple weapons also have to have a light property. That is not the case. Okay, tool proficiencies. Choose one type of artisan's tools or musical instrument. See Chapter 6. You know what? I think we're going to go ahead and give our monk a musical instrument, because I feel like that's a nice little thing. Like that's his soft side, is he plays music. So let's see here. Where are the instruments? I probably should have bookmarked this, but that's hindsight for you. Okay, those are tools. Shouldn't be in tools, should they? Oh, here we go. Musical instruments. Let's see. We've got bagpipes, drum, dulcimer, flute, horn, lute, lyre, pan flute, shawm. Let's go ahead and do a flute. So we're going to go ahead and go here. Actually, wait. Hold on. Nope. There. And we're just going to say flute. Always add a comma. Okay, so we got that done. See, oh, that's paladin. That's too far. I did not keep my finger in the page I wanted to. Okay. So we gave him a flute, and that's good. We're not going to worry about the starting equipment. In fact, for this, we're just going to go ahead and give them the 50 gold piece flat. That's kind of the way I like to roll anyway. But otherwise, it would just be a matter of, where is it here? So equipment, you just go here and do equipment, write whatever it is. So daggers, artisan tools for musical instrument of chosen, tool proficiency, explorer's pack, 11 gold P. So you just write that there. Let's see here, here we go. So we have 50 gold pieces. There we go. And that's just going to be easier, so you don't have to watch me write equipment, because the equipment is kind of the easiest part of this. Okay, so we've got all of our core monk traits down. Let's go ahead and go back to creating character. Okay, hold that thought. You'll fill in more details about your class later. Choosing your class is the most important decision you make in creating a character, and informs many of your decisions you make in later steps. Okay, so we'll return to this a little later. Next, determine origin. Determining the character's origin involves choosing a background, a species, and 2 languages. A character's background represents the place and occupation that were most formative for the character. The combination of background, species, languages provides fertile soil for your imagination as you ponder your character's earliest days. First step, choose a background. Choose a background, write on your character sheet, and choose any background details from Chapter 4. Okay. We're going to go ahead. We're going to make sure we don't lose our place in the monk this time. Alright, where's our background? Okay, so we're going to start our background. So, in the interest of keeping our character kind of optimized, because we're working in the rules of this framework, we want to choose something that has both dexterity and wisdom, which there are several. So let's see, we have, or at least there should be some, okay, so we have guide, where you came of age outdoors, far from settled lands, your home was anywhere you chose to spread your bedroll. See, Hermit just has wisdom. There should be more for Dex wisdom. Ah, here we go. We got Sailor. So, that's an interesting one. Maybe our... Ooh, you know what? I think we're going to go with Sailor because you have Dexterity and Wisdom, and we get that Tavern Brawler feat. Oh, so, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a good one. So this is an orc who... maybe he ran away or something, or maybe he was basically an orphan, managed to get a job on a boat and kind of grew up that way, learned, fisticuffs from brawling, and, eventually kind of learned to, like, channel that a little spiritually in his travels because of people he met. So we're going to go with that because I like that. Okay, feat. Here we go, feat. So we're just going to put Tavern Brawler. Now this is one of the weaknesses of both this and the old character sheets is all I can write here is Tavern Brawler. There is no way I'm going to be able to write out every single feat in this small space. So it's one of those things where if you're doing pen and paper, you want to write it down somewhere. If you're doing it, say on Roll20, you want to make sure that you're writing that description down so you can always link it when you want to use it. And this way, there's unambiguously what you're doing and what you're using and what the rules for that are. So let's go ahead. We're going to fast forward a bit to feats so I can read off the Tavern feat or Tavern Brawler feat. And let's see, where are my origin feats? Here we go. So Tavern Brawler, you gain the following benefits: enhanced unarmed strike. When you hit with an unarmed strike and deal damage, you can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d4 plus your strength modifier instead of a normal unarmed strike, because normally when you punch something, it's just a straight up 1d4. Damage rerolls. Whenever you roll a damage die for your unarmed strike, you can reroll the die if it lands on a 1, and you must use a new roll. Improvised weaponry. You have proficiency with improvised weapons. Push. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, you can deal damage to that target and also push it 5 feet away from you. You can only use this benefit once per turn. So, I think probably maybe the one weakness here is that first enhanced unarmed strike. Because part of what monks do is they are able to use dexterity and wisdom for their unarmed strikes. Because essentially a lot of their weapons are weaker, but they're still somehow supposed to be, a fighting class. They're not quite the full martial that, say, a paladin is. So I don't know. This might be something that they'll have to make a rata for, because I don't know if I can take this and then add my strength and my dexterity and my wisdom to it, which seems really overpowered. I kind of doubt they intended that way. But those other three are still really great benefits to have for someone who's essentially going to be using their fist 90% of the time anyway. So I think that's a great choice. We're going to stick with that. So we're going to go with Sailor. Skill proficiencies. We get acrobatics and perception. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and here's something I do. So we got perception from our background. We're going to check that off. We do already have acrobatics from the monk. So I always have this rule where, and honestly it's probably just more of a common sense thing, is that if you go to like something else and if it gives you less choices and you already have most or all of those choices, you can go back and change it. So like normally I picked acrobatics from monk and athletics. So since I already have acrobatics from my background origin, I'm going to go ahead and pick something else. I think I'm going to pick history. I think we're going to kind of, I know it kind of seems weird to give an intelligence skill to a monk, especially when I've already established that, he's more in line with the physical stuff. But the way I imagine it is that he's kind of sailed around, so he knows a lot of tidbits of knowledge. He's still not super proficient in it like, a schooled wizard might be, but it's still something that he has under his belt. Okay, so we're moving right along here. Oh wait, there's still more origin stuff. Okay, so we got the skill proficiency. Tool proficiencies, navigator's tools, and one of the things I forgot to mention in my analysis of the book is they actually have full-on rules as to how some of these tools work. Like before, it just said navigator's tools. Oh, you can use these to navigate, and it's like, okay, fine, but what does that mean mechanically? And I think most dungeon masters would be like, okay, if you're trying to navigate and use the navigator's tools, you have advantage, or something like that. And that's fine. I'm not sure what the rules are for the navigator's tools here, but it spells it out a lot more, and I really like that. And then we also get 50 gold pieces from our background, which brings us up to a nice healthy 100 gold. And typically, if you're going with the give your players all gold route, I would say like you give them the gold, and then have a period of time where you go, okay, what do you want to buy with your stuff? I kind of mentioned this earlier that you definitely want to make it to where your players can get what they want. Like it gives them more flexibility. So we got that. That's everything from our background. So next up on the list, where are we? Okay. Determine, choose a background. Ability scores and backgrounds. Okay, so they mentioned that. So we recorded our feat. We knew our proficiencies. Starting equipment we're going to kind of ignore. So next we're going to choose a species. We already established that we're going to do orc. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward to the species part of the book. Here we go, orc. So now we're going to start noting this. Species, orc. Alright, creature type, humanoid. Do they have creature type here? Or do they have it somewhere else? Or do they... Okay, that's a little odd, because they did have species before. Most species in D&D are going to be humanoids. However, there are some, like the plasmoids from Spelljammer, are considered oozes for the purpose of spells. So if something says you can do this to a humanoid, you technically can't do it to a plasmoid because they're an ooze. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, size, medium. I don't think they even have size here. Oh, here we go, size, medium. Hold on. We'll just write medium there. Okay, medium check. Speed, 30 feet. That's actually now the standard. It used to be that dwarves, gnomes, and halflings only had like 25 feet, and all the medium races at 30 feet. They changed that, probably for the better. Okay, so now we have traits. So we're gonna go down here, species traits. So we got adrenaline rush, and that's going to be you can take the dash action as a bonus action. When you do so, gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all its limited uses when you finish a short rest or a long rest. And that is actually, again, that's going to be a really good one for a monk. They can do Step of the Wind, but it would be nice to have that adrenaline rush as an option when you don't want to use those key points for Step of the Wind. Or, I'm sorry, I guess they're focus points now, excuse me. Okay, dark vision. So next we're going to go here. Dark vision, okay. Dark vision basically just means that if you're in dim light, you can see perfectly fine. Other characters that don't have that dark vision are going to get disadvantage on trying to attack in dim light. But in total or near darkness, it's going to be dim light, so you'll have disadvantage, whereas other characters just might not be able to see anything. Next, relentless endurance, another good one. Like in orc and half-orc stable, this is like their big draw. When you're reduced to 0 hit points but not outright killed, you can drop to 1 hit point instead. Once you use this trait, you can't do so again until a long rest. One of the things I've always wanted to do is just make a zealot orc barbarian where they just basically use they have these abilities to essentially, it's kind of the same mechanically, but you can do it a little more. It just gets harder each time because it requires a increasingly difficult Constitution save, I believe it was. And so it's just one of those things where have the barbarian that's too angry to die. All right, and that's everything from the orc. All right, back on to creating our character. So we got species. Choose languages. So we get to choose 2 languages. Let's see, where do we have our languages? Here we go. So when you choose languages, most people take Common. I did have a player once that decided they did not want to speak Common, and it was kind of a funny running gag that no one could understand her except for like one or two other people in the party. So generally, most people go with Common, and they basically pick their racial language. So in this case, we're going to give them Orcish. So Common and Orc, but you can change that up if you have like another reason. Like, hey, maybe if you're an Orc that was like raised by elves, you don't know Orcish, but you know Elvish. Again, talk to your DM, because sometimes DMs just don't bother like with languages too much, like especially the more exotic ones. So talk to your DM. That's always good advice. Okay, so we've got languages. Let's see here. Okay, step 3, determine ability scores. See, this is weird to me because I feel like ability scores, once I know what class I want, that's when I want to use my ability scores. So it is what it is. Let's see here. Check something. Okay, so ability scores. For this, we are just going to use the standard array for the monk. If you see here in the book, right here, they have the standard array for each class. You can essentially put them wherever you want. And I might change this up a bit, but that's what we're going to do for now, just for the sake of simplicity. So, let's see, monk is going to be 12 for strength. Oh wait, hold on, that's the modifier spot. No, okay, 12. And it should be noted that if you're new to this game, there's a difference between your strength score and your strength modifier. Just keep that in mind. Dexterity is going to be 15. Okay, Constitution 13, also a important one for a monk, especially since you're going to be doing fighting. Intelligence is going to be 10. Okay. Wisdom is going to be 14, because that's their other important stat, especially if you're going to be adding those to your AC. And then Charisma is going to be 8. I think that's perfectly in line with the fact that this is an Orc, probably not big on social graces, especially if they're like, say, just a sailor and a pirate getting into tavern brawls, is probably why they're fighting so much. Okay, so we're going to use those for our scores. And that's not bad, because now if we do a history check, the 10 is going to be a 0 modifier, but then we're going to get the proficient bonus for history. So it's not the best, but it's still great. So we got those modifiers. Personality and appearance. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets into a weird territory, because one of the good things about the old, the way you made your character old one, is you had to choose like bonds and flaws. Essentially things like, maybe your character is really pig-headed, or maybe they're egotistical, maybe they're kind of cowardly and they have to overcome that. And those are good ways to get inspiration from your DM. But at the same time, they kind of simplified it here to where they said, hey, take your essentially your stats and kind of choose a random one from there to decide what your character's personality will be. So in this case, our highest stat is dexterity, and our low stat is charisma. So we're just going to go in here. So dexterity, we're going to call them dynamic. That's kind of a very generic term. And then for their low stat charisma, let's say reserved. I think reserved is really good for a monk. That's a good way to describe a given monk. Is they're reserved, kind of a little bit stoic. So we'll move on from there. Choose an alignment. Okay, what alignment is our orc going to be? That's a tough one. Because if you go by the old method of doing things, orcs had a tendency towards chaos, both as monsters and as, say, half-orcs. They said, okay, half-orcs tend to be more chaotic. But this book kind of revises the lore and their attitude a little bit. So I'm going to say, it's a tough one. So are they a sailor or are they a pirate? They're always getting in brawls. Okay, they're getting in brawls, so I'm going to call them chaotic. As for You know, I'm going to imagine that this is like maybe like a smuggling ship, like they're not pirates, but they're definitely skirting the law. So let's make a chaotic neutral monk, which kind of seems counterintuitive to monk. But keep in mind that the classes are more of a template for what they're doing and less how they act. You could totally have a chaotic monk. At that point, you're actually maybe almost going into like trickster territory. But that's another story. So we're going to go chaotic neutral because, you know, he likes his freedom and he understands that the law is not always necessarily the best thing. And in fact, a lot of times he's skirting the law. So we're going to do that. Or you know, she, because we haven't picked a gender for this yet. At the end, we're going to go ahead, we're going to roll randomly and see what we can do for getting a good orc name. Okay, so let's see, alignment, personality type. Okay, so let's see, chaotic. We'll give them more personalities. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Instead of doing that. No, come on here. There we go. Reserved. Let's see here. So let's go with pragmatic for his neutral. So when it pragmatic. There we go. Pragmatic. So they're pragmatic in terms of when it comes to good or evil. You know, it's, hey, we want to do what works. For chaotic, let's do impulsive. Like, that's the thing that makes him chaotic and maybe not necessarily good or evil, is he wants to survive. He's impulsive, but he's a little bit pragmatic. And so it kind of comes into conflict, so it becomes this kind of chaotic neutral character. Okay. Record class features. We already did that a little bit, but I think I also want to fill in some numbers now. So let's see here. Okay, so let's add the modifiers for our Oh, you know, we still need to add the stats from background. So the background, you get 2 in one and 1 in another. I specifically chose Sailor because it had Wisdom and Charisma, so we're going to up that to 17. And then we're going to up our Wisdom to 15. Now, for stats, you're going to look, if you have the book, it's on page 38. It has what the modifier is for each type of score. So, for example, this 10 in intelligence is a neutral. It's +0. It's not bad, it's not good. And that means whenever I roll any of these, I'm not adding anything to it. So except for this, history gets a proficiency bonus, but we'll deal with that in a second. So now we have strength of 12. That's going to be a +1 modifier. And now that's also good because I picked that. One, I have a saving throw in strength, and 2, I have a saving throw in athletics. So what this means is that if I need to make a saving throw, I'm going to roll that d20, add a 1 to it, and then whatever the proficiency bonus for my level is, I'm adding that to it. So each one of those is going to make it increasingly likely that I will succeed. Okay, 17 is a +3. That's a good solid stat. Oh, and you know what? I also forgot. I think Tavern Brawler also gives a bonus, but we'll double check that later. Okay, 15 is a +2. Again, Wisdom. Good stat for monks to have. Constitution is 13. That's a +1. Monks are a little less on the Constitution side, but you never want to dump Constitution. Never make Constitution your lowest. It doesn't matter what for. And of course, he is not charismatic, so he has a -1 from that 8. And let me just double check that Tavern Brawler feat. Where are my feats? Okay, Origin feat does not give any bonuses, so that's just that. So we got that here. Next, we are going to start filling in monk stuff. Alright, so let's see here. Okay. Our first monk class feature is martial arts. And what that means is The practice of martial arts gives you mastery of the combat styles that use your unarmed strike and monk weapons, which are the following: simple weapons and martial weapons that have a light property. You gain the following benefits when you are unarmed or wielding only monk weapons, and you aren't wearing an armor or shield, so you never want to wear armor or shield as monk. Bonus unarmed strike. You can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. Martial arts die. You can roll 1d6 in place of normal damage of your unarmed strike or monk weapons. This die changes as you gain monk levels shown in the martial arts column. So basically, if you have a weapon that's light and does 1d4, or if you have with the unarmed strike and the tavern brawler, you make that, you can use a 1d6. So you know what this tells me? That I actually... Oh, here we go. Dexterous attack. You can use your dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier for attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strike and monk weapons. In addition, when you use the grapple or shove option of your unarmed strike, you can use dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier to determine the safety seat. So basically, what I mentioned with the tavern brawl, that turns out to be correct. I can't use strength and dexterity, I can only use dexterity. But that's okay because those other features are still really good. And I can, still utilize them. Okay. Level 1, Unarmored Defense. While you aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield, your base armor class is 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifiers. Okay, so let's add that right now. So it's 10 plus 2 plus 3, so our armor class is a actually pretty solid 15, considering that we're not wearing anything for armor. I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, level 2, Monk Focus. Your focus and martial training allows you to harness the extraordinary energy within yourself. This energy is represented by focus points. Your monk level determines the number of focus points you have, as shown in the focus points column of the monk feature. Okay, so let's go. And let's also add our proficiency bonus. Our proficiency bonus at level 3 is plus 2. Alright, so we got that in. Our martial arts die is 1d6 at level 3, so we can add that here later. And we have 2 focus points. So let's see, is there a place where you would imagine they would have a... Yeah, they need a place to add focus points. So you know what, here's what we're going to do. Okay, so let's do this. So unarmored defense. And then what we'll do is we'll just put Monk's Focus, and our current focus points for level 3 is 3. So we'll just go ahead and put 3 in parentheses since there's no place to put that. And then again, if you're doing this on paper, you can just erase that. If you're using Roll20, they still use the old 5e sheets, but there's a spot that they added to where you can just have generic class resources, and so you can just label that focus points and put 3. Okay. Now you can expend these points to enhance or reduce certain monk features. Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, Step of the Wind. Flurry of Blows, I can expend a focus point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Patient Defense, I can take the disengage action as a bonus action. Alternatively, you can expend 1 focus point to take both the disengage and dodge actions as a bonus action. So again, going back to our orc adrenaline rush, if I just want to dash, I can burn that and not worry about the focus points. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, 1 focus point. So I can burn that and not worry about the focus points, but if I want to, or if I need to do that and disengage specifically, I can use that patient defense. Step of the Wind, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. Alternatively, you can expend 1 focus point to take both the dash and disengage. Okay, so basically, patient defense is disengage, Step of the Wind is dash, but I can spend 1 focus point to take both of them at once, which is cool. And again, I can use that adrenaline rush if I really need to. Okay, unarmored movement. Your speed increases 10 feet while you aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield. This bonus increases when you reach certain monk levels, but it is just 10 feet for this level, so we'll just go here. So we have a 40-foot movement speed, and when you consider that we have 2 abilities that allow us to dash, that means we can move 80 feet in just 1 turn. That is pretty good, and I'm actually going to move this a little bit there. Okay. Level 2, Uncanny Metabolism. Actually, no. Go back here. Unarmored movement. And now we have Uncanny Metabolism. Alright, Uncanny Metabolism. When you roll initiative, you regain all expended focus points. When you do so, roll your martial arts die and regain a number of hit points equal to your monk level plus the number rolled. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So considering that we're getting our key points back on a short rest anyway, and then we can also replenish them on a long rest, again, big improvement over the old monk. We will not be lacking in key points. Okay, level 3, Deflect Attacks. So for this one, when an attack roll hits you and its damage includes bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, you can take a reaction to reduce the attack's total damage against you. The reduction equals 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier for monk level. Good thing we have a high dexterity. If you reduce the damage to 0, you can expend 1 focus point to redirect some of the attack's force. If you choose to do so, you choose a creature you see within 5 feet of yourself if the attack is melee, or a creature within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover if the attack is ranged. That creature must succeed a dexterity saving throw or take damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die plus your dexterity modifier. Damage is the same type dealt by the attack. So basically, you know, again, this typical monk, arrow flies at you, you catch it, and then you just fling it back at someone, and you know you hit them. So that's a cool ability to have as a monk. Okay, now monk subclass. You gain a monk subclass of your choice: Warrior Mercy, Warrior Shadow, Warrior of Elements, and Warrior of the Open Hand. Subclasses are detailed in the class's description. A subclass is a specialization that grants you features at certain monk levels. For the rest of your career, you gain each of your subclasses features that are your monk level or lower. So again, this goes back to how they made backwards compatibility work. I believe monks were level 3 anyway, but if they weren't, and say they got it at level 2, then they would just get it at level 3 now, and they get the other stuff retroactively. So I really like the idea, and this is probably just because I watched TFS at the table, and I am thinking of like Wake Scalebound, where he's the elemental monk, but you know he's a fish person, and he goes sailing, and he's a navigator. So God, I basically just made an orc version of Wake Scalebound. The more I think about it, but I like this idea, and this will be a good chance to highlight some of the elemental monk stuff. Because that just did get a revamp. It's really good. I highly recommend it. So yeah, let's go ahead and make him an element monk. And I imagine that like he's sailing and he meets other monks, and they like one by one they teach him little tricks, and then he goes to like the next port, he meets another monk, and he's like, oh, you can make a little fire from your hands too. Here, let me show you this cool thing. And that's how he becomes a monk. Okay. Let's see, level 3 attunement. At the start of your turn, elemental attunement. At the start of your turn, you can spend 1 focus point to imbue yourself with elemental energy. The energy lasts for 10 minutes or until you have an incapacitated condition. You gain the following effects when this feature is active. Reach. You make an unarmed strike. When you make an armed strike, your reach is 10 feet greater than normal as elemental energy extends from you. Elemental strikes. When you hit with your unarmed strike, you can cause it to deal your choice of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage rather than its normal damage. When you do one of these damage types, you can also force the target to make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, you can move the target up to 10 feet away from you as elemental energy swirls around it. Okay, so that's a basic nice one. We're going to go ahead and just do elemental attunement. Alright. Also at level 3, you know the elementalism spell. Wisdom is your spell casting ability for it. So let's just go ahead and see what elementalism actually does. Here we go, elementalism. Okay, so it's a cantrip, so we don't have to worry about spell slots or anything. So we're just going to scroll down here, and for level, we're just going to put cantrip, C for cantrip, Okay. So, extend that a little bit. Casting time, 1 action, range, 30 feet, components, V and S. Oh. That's right. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll go here, and we'll just go VS. Yeah, this is a little weird, because in the old one, I believe they just had VSM. They had like ritual and concentration dots too, I believe. But this is important because it establishes you need to, do some hand waving, and then you also need to say something verbally. And that's important because, like, if you're in a cone of silence, you're not going to be able to say anything, and you can't cast a spell. So for this one, you exert control over the elements, creating one of the following effects within range. Beckoneer, you create a breeze strong enough to ripple cloth, stir dust, rustle leaves, and open and close doors and shutters, all in a 5-foot cube. Doors and shutters being held open by someone or something aren't affected. Beckon Earth, you create a thin shroud of dust or sand that covers surfaces in a 5-foot square area, or you can cause a single word to appear in your handwriting in a small patch of dirt or sand. Beckon Fire, you create a thin cloud of harmless embers and colored scented smoke in a 5-foot cube. You choose the color, the scent, and the embers can light candles, torches, and lamps in the area. The smoke scent lingers for 1 minute. Beckon Water, you create a spray of cool mist that lightly dampens creatures and objects in a 5-foot cube. Alternatively, you create 1 cup of clean water, either in an open container or on a surface, and the water evaporates in 1 minute. Sculpt Element, you cause dirt, sand, fire, smoke, mist, or water that can fit in a 1-foot cube to assume a crude shape, such as that of a creature, for 1 hour. Okay, so that is largely, that's kind of like a flavor cantrip, but it's not a bad one. People sometimes underestimate these kind of spells, but especially if you watch like a lot of YouTube campaigns, players can get really creative with that. And so that's what I say to any new players out there. Just because the spell doesn't have a combat application doesn't mean it's not going to have any application. I think one of my favorite spells is Prestidigitation, because you can use it to clean yourself off. Like, that seems like a silly thing, but when it's like, oh, you just went through the sewer and now you're covered in dirt, just be like, no, I'm not. Boom. Alright, so anyway, back to monk stuff. Let's see here. Okay, so we get all the level 3 stuff. And we got all the level 3 stuff for Elemental Monk. So now we're just going to go through and see anything we're missing. Well, let's see here. Oh, yeah, we actually need to add our proficiency bonus to all of our things. So once again, we're just going to go through here. And we have proficiency bonus of +2. So for history, whenever we use that one, it's just going to be a +2 because there's no intelligence modifier for that. Saving throw, so we have a +1 here, but our proficiency is 2, so that's going to be a +3, and that is going to be the same thing for athletics. We've got a +3 in athletics. Once again, 3 + 2, so that's going to be a +5 in anything dexterous. So again, that's a very important thing for a monk to be, especially because, as we've established, that is going to be their primary attack stat. We're going to have a +4 in our perception. That's going to be a nice one. Like almost everyone takes perception. Okay, and you can add. You can technically go through all these, but a lot of the times it's just going to be whatever one you have there. So we don't have proficiency in it, but we can add the +1 there. And in fact, let's go here. Just go +0, +0, +0, +0. There we go. Those are all done. And because we don't have any, actually, don't forget the saving throw. Saving throws are important. So we don't have proficiency, so it's just a +2. throws. We got a -1 on charisma saving throws. That's gonna hurt sometime in the future. And monks are not usually the face of the party, so we're not gonna worry about charisma. You know, with any luck, we would have like a bard in the party that could do that, or a paladin. There we go. So we have all of our modifiers. And I like the way they did this, because before they had all of the skills on just one big long list, alphabetically, and so it would say like acrobatics, dex. And so it's one of those things where if you looked for it, you know, you would have to go, okay, ABC, and it was kind of nice and easy. But I think this is a little better, because I think the one thing, honestly, if you're a DM, here's my advice. I know it probably seems silly, you might be more experienced than me, but whenever you ask a player for a skill check, don't just say athletics, say strength athletics. And that will help them navigate this easily. And then especially with the way they have this set up, all the bonuses are just right there. Like you have the 2 there, you have the 1 there, all they have to do is update it. So passive perception is always going to be 10 plus your wisdom modifier, so my passive perception is 12. That is for when you're not actively looking for something, but the DM wants to see if maybe you'll notice a trap or something. Okay, so we got... Where do all my class features go? Oh, wait, no. Where do all my class features go? I wrote them there. Where did... Okay, well, apparently a bunch of my stuff disappeared. You saw me write it, though. I don't know why it disappeared like that. The other thing you're going to want to do is, for whatever your weapons or attacks you have, you're just going to do this. So like, let's do our unarmed attack. So we have unarmed. So the attack bonus, and actually let me get the book out and go back to monk again, because I want to make sure I'm doing this right. So the attack bonus is different for a rogue and unarmed. Let's see here. Okay, so the d6 is going to be the damage. And normally when you make an unarmed attack, you use strength. But we're a monk, so we use dexterity. We are also proficient, I believe. Let's see here. Interesting. I don't know if this is an oversight or not, because it doesn't tell me. Let's see here. Oh, that is interesting. I don't know if this is an oversight or not. So in the old monk, it used to say that as a monk you are proficient in your unarmed strikes. Like that's part of the bonus is, you want to be proficient in the weapons you use. So you would have your d20 plus your dexterity plus your proficiency. Here it does not say you're proficient in your unarmed strikes. But again, I don't know if that is an oversight on their part or not. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. That's interesting. Okay, so for rules as written here, I'm just going to add the dexterity. So I don't really know what to make of that. That's something that I would ask around about, because it seems odd that they removed the proficiency for a monk. The proficiency for a monk to make unarmed strikes. That's kind of the thing they do. I feel like that's definitely an oversight. Okay, so damage type. We're just going to say bludgeoning here. Okay, so it's 1d6. Bludgeoning. Yeah, we're just going to go bludge. We know what it means. And then for notes, we're just going to go ahead and see here. Yeah, we're just going to put elemental strikes in the notes. Okay, so that's going to be kind of our way of saying like, hey, just a reminder, you can change it to elemental damage. And then if you had other weapons too, you would do the same thing. It would be like, okay, so let's say you're proficient in a quarterstaff. You would write quarterstaff. It's a monk weapon, so you would do +3 because you can add dexterity. You would do the damage for the quarterstaff, and any notes like you might want to put here. It's a versatile weapon, so the damage can change depending on whether you use one hand or two hands to wield it, and like how many hands you have free. So you might want to make a note about the damage change there in case you want to do that. But there is one last thing we need, and that is our character's name. Although, yeah, we're just going to put elemental there. No need to write a whole thing. So what I want to do, here's what we're going to do. I have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which has a nice little series of charts in the back where you can randomly pick a name, and they have it divided by races. They have like real names and stuff. And I'm just going to go ahead to the number generator here that I pulled up before. And what I'm going to do is, so they have a D100 for half-orc female and a D100 for half-orc male. And basically every two numbers is a name. So we're going to go ahead and do that and say that if it's an odd number, we go to the corresponding one on the male list. And if it's an even number, we'll go to the corresponding number on the female list. So generate 98. Okay, so we actually have a female orc monk. So 98 Yevelda. And let's see. Let's give her a good like last name. What's a good last name for an elemental monk? Yevelda Stormfist. There we go. So we have just made, aside from the stuff that just mysteriously disappeared on me, which I'm kind of annoyed about, yeah, so we have made our first character, Yevelda Stormfist. And that's how it's done. That's how you make a character. You can basically do the same thing. Oh, I never put the hit points in there. What are the... Did it ever mention the hit points? I mean, it should in the actual class feature, because that's how it determines... Yeah, it's weird. I don't recall it ever mentioning HP in the... Oh, here we go. Hit points by class. Adjust hit points and die. Each time you gain a level, you gain an additional hit die. Roll that die, add your Constitution modifier to it, and add the total minimum of 1 to your maximum hit point. Instead of rolling, you can use the value shown in fixed hit points by the class. Okay, so we're going to use the fixed hit points per level. For monk, it is 5 plus Constitution modifier per level. So we're 3 levels plus 5 is 15, and then our con is 1, so that's another 3. So that's going to be 18 hit points. So we've got a max of 18, and you would just put your 18 there. And then do keep in mind, remember we had that feature that gave us temporary HP from our racial ability when we dash. So whenever you get temporary HP, you would just put that right here. But there we go. That's just about it. I don't think there's anything else. I mean, appearance, obviously we're not playing this character, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Equipment, whether you buy the equipment or get it from your background and or class, you would just write it here. If they're weapons, you want to make sure you note them here so that you can use them. And then spells you would note here. I'm not too big of a fan of this kind of spell list because it makes it really weird to organize them. Honestly, if you're going to play a spellcaster, do not underestimate. They have these like spell cards. They're kind of like little trading cards. And what you can do is you can get just a binder with card slots like you would for Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering, the Pokemon trading card game or anything like that. And you just have a few blank pages, and whenever you prepare a spell, which maybe we'll handle that another time whenever we do a spellcaster, and we'll just take the card from there and you put it in the blank ones and say, hey, these are my prepared spells, and it has the description right there. Don't underestimate the value of that. It makes it so much easier. But until then, this is how you make a character in the 2024 rules. Hope you had fun. Hope you guys have fun making your own characters. Whenever I do this again, I don't know when I'll do this again, but if there is a species or class combination that you want to see, let me know. I think for now I kind of want to stick to the player's handbook for 2024 just to kind of demonstrate some of the changes and how some of the classes now work. But until then, this is Sakurai saying keep doing what makes you awesome. Have a good day and goodbye.